welcome to another episode of Pastor Dad, and today we're on holy grounds, or we're at least having holy grounds. She's drinking Verona and I'm drinking Pike's Place, and so today we are going to be talking from another dimension of the grace-paced life. Last week we talked about needing to kind of hit the reboot, reset button. Today we're going to be talking about what do we need to reduce in our life, because oftentimes there are things in our life that we need to unload so that we can actually enjoy a grace-based life.
Alright, so
Are you ready for
I
the story?
have a specific request.
Yes.
So I seem to remember a story about a fin print on a chest.
Oh, yes.
Are you guys ready? Listen, Papa's going to tell us a story.
So I might even tell you two stories, because one of them,
Seti.
more or less, is about our topic on Sunday. So one day we were out spearfishing, and it was a calm day, but there was a current, and that's where the water just goes really fast, and you could swim as hard as you want, and you wouldn't move. And some of us got tired and we got in the boat, but there were a couple of our friends that were further away, and all of a sudden we saw this big fin that came out of the water, and we knew it was some type of shark. It was huge, and then it went right by where the two guys were, and one of them screamed out loud, super hard. And so we started the motor and we drove over there, and the big, much bigger than our boat fish had swum by this guy, and it was a whale shark, and they can get up to 60 feet long. And
60!
60
That's as
feet.
long as my house!
Yeah, it was much bigger than the boat, but it was because it was swimming hard against the current, just like we were trying to. When it moved by him, it flicked its fin so hard it slapped him and left this giant tail print across his chest where it V'd. So it's not it's not some a shark that attacks, but it was so big and so powerful when it bit, it just imprinted this big mark on his chest.
Did you know that Papa saw a shark?
Papa saw a shark.
Oh, a bunch of
in the ocean when he was a little boy. How old were you, Dad?
that one I was probably close to 12. So, have you unloaded anything in your life? Sure. Have you downsized to survive?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have gone through our clothing and our books and lots of things like that, and even the things that we do in our schedule to try and make a little bit more space, even if it's not a ton. But yeah, I've tried to do that recently. Yeah, so we've had to be very intentional with our free time. Being tired and having a few little kids, we used to go and just veg out with either Netflix or movies and things like that, and we still will occasionally go to see a movie, but I think we're about to cancel our Netflix just altogether, because we realized that taking that out helped us be more intentional about spending more quality time with each other, because we would watch those and then feel frustrated because we would say later in the week, oh, we need to connect, we need to have a deeper conversation, and so we made that intentional switch to say, okay, even though it's really nice to veg out, sometimes we're going to cut down on the amount of that so that we can have that time. So.
And you actually kind of segued into that part of the planning stage, is how are we actually going to get here. And so it takes knowing the purpose, it takes a plan. You actually are going to have to do this, and part of implementing the plan is cutting out. And so I think that's one of the hardest things for us to do.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that that means is that we have to reprioritize what is most valuable. And obviously Jesus does this all the way through when he talks about this grace-paced life, where we experience life, we experience rest, we experience his abundance. But there's this great quotation by C.S. Lewis that oftentimes our hands are so full that we can't experience God's grace, the treasures of heaven, because we're slopping around in a muddy puddle with hands full of mud, and we don't even have an idea what it's like for a holiday on the beach. And so that would be the same type of thing that we just have to go through each one of these places. If I'm not experiencing God's rest and grace in my life, what, by the grace of God, do I need to change in my spiritual walk for me to experience God's presence and power in my life? If I'm not experiencing God's grace and I'm feeling frantic in my family life, what needs to go? What needs to be reprioritized? And part of that reprioritization will include maybe a modification of the 1 minute manager, where making a list of the things in your life that you must do. You must pay bills. Things that I would like to do. I would like to get at least 3 hours of sleep a night. Things that you could do, and things that you can't do. I mean, we really just need to say at times that cutting out certain things is a good thing. It makes us a better person, a more fulfilled person, and that's really hard. How's your no muscle?
With when it comes to people and activities, mine's actually fairly good because I'm more of an introvert, and so I don't mind saying no as much to that. But the thing that came to mind when you were talking about saying no to something was comfort, which is something that I've had to recently say no to more of, because like you were saying, I wanted to shift and adjust my spiritual walk with God, and family life was just so crazy and things like that, and I knew some sort of change had to happen, and the method of comfort for me was sleeping until the last possible moment, till the kids woke me up. And so in the last 6 weeks or so, I felt like God was impressing on my heart to start to be intentional to get up earlier to spend time with Him. So that's been my switch of priorities from, want to be comfort and just sleep all the time, especially being pregnant with the little ones. But I have seen a difference in just the time that created, and the space that created to receive the grace that God had for me, because I didn't even, like you said, my hands were so full of comfort and in the form of sleep at that time that I didn't have the space to receive the relationship with Him and the fruit and the life that came from that. So obviously that's not the same for everybody, but in my life it was a very intentional, like, I'm sleeping because I want to have more comfort from that form. So
some of the practical things is, the most practical thing for a grace-based life is, what did God put me on this earth for? And really taking the time to say, I need to catch that picture. So that's where I pursue. And once I do that in areas of life, like my spiritual life, my vocational life, my family or relational life, what steps do I need to put into my life to actually achieve that bigger picture? And then the even more practical step that we struggle with is actually scheduling it, which you did. You actually said, I have to get up earlier, so we have to schedule it. For some people, they make a magnificent schedule, but then they don't actually transfer it to the calendar. So another step would be to put it on the calendar, and then to prioritize what's on the calendar. Maybe it's too full, and then finally to execute. And it's in actually reducing that. I think we find this place where we're not under compulsion. We're under this sense of God's grace that I will accomplish today what needs to be done, and I can trust God to take and multiply even what I would like to do more of or better. And even the things that I say no to, I am better off because I'm receiving who God is and His grace in my life, and so I don't have to just rush, though my life is full. So the goal and the dream is balance, and it's available for all of us. So that's the second big step we're looking at, is what steps of reduction does there need to be in our life so that we can experience God's grace. If this has been helpful for you, just want to encourage you once again to like, share, subscribe if you have not done so. Until next week, may your hands be empty enough to receive God's grace so you can walk with Him at the pace